Hey, Janet. We're not connected yet. Hey, Janet, I'm getting my video connected here. It looks like you're getting set up too.
Sorry, I
We
was
got
like,
two different.
there is in the meantime.
What's that? I missed it. What'd you say?
Having a snack in the meantime.
Oh, it's all right. It's all good. No, I got my my latte here in front of me, so
Good.
it's all good. It's the afternoon, second cup of coffee.
I think my audio is a little funky. I was just on a call.
Okay.
So
It looks like you're getting connected on another
yeah,
device or something.
yeah.
Disconnected
I think I'm
audio.
gonna try this from my work computer. Can I do that? Log off
Yeah,
and
go for it. Yeah, come on back in.
thank
Yeah,
you.
sure. No problem. All right. How about now?
Looked
Your
at.
audio. There you go. You're back. Yep. Gotcha.
Sorry about that. I think it's the
Oh, no
my
sweat.
book. I have to get a new. I gotta service it.
No
Thank
sweat
you.
at all.
Yeah, thank you for taking the time to meet. I know you guys are really busy on your front.
No sweat at all. No, I'm happy to take the time.
Thank you.
Yeah. It was cutting out a little bit there, but I heard most of what you said. I think the audio should be good. It looks like your connection's probably getting stabilized.
Yeah.
I had an issue before with my audio too, because something was going on with a storm or something. Who knows? But
Yeah.
hey, so we haven't talked, I don't think, live before, so it's good to meet you on Zoom here, and looking forward to helping inside the TGC community, and obviously like whatever else I could do to help you. What I usually like to do, Janet, is I like to read through, like, for these meetings, whether it's somebody who's already a client like yourself, or it's somebody else who's looking to become a client. Like, I like to read through just to kind of get centered and focused on what you put in, because you took some time to write some good stuff. So I'm just going to read it out loud, and then you tell me if anything's different or the same, about each individual thing. So
Okay.
currently, you're saying you're focused on setting and defining clearer goals and defining a path forward as it relates to breaking into real estate for business ventures. And for this call in particular, just looking for advice to start out on the right track, try and narrow down some options. So, and then give me a little bit of color on that as far as additional detail, like in what respect, like, where are you at, and kind of like your awareness and knowledge of like real estate investing, and what do you feel like you might be missing that you're missing, and kind
Yeah.
of anything else you want to share about like what that has there.
So I think that was getting like a lot of information overload. There's so much
Uh,
information on the internet. It's conflicting, and I was getting discouraged. because a lot of, it's not even just mentors, just people who are offering advice for folks breaking into it. I don't think it's aligned in a
Right.
lot of, so I stopped going on to a lot of videos and just focusing on your content and using bigger pockets, and then in collaboration with having conversations with Jasmine. But she
Yeah.
only has such amount of resources from where she is, and I think we're all learning at the same time. She knows way more than I do.
Right.
So I just wanted to, and today's call was particularly helpful because you gave a lot of really key points on how to even get started. So thank you for
Oh,
that.
thank you. Yeah, of
Yeah,
course.
so helpful.
One
It's so,
o'clock, right? I think I saw you on there. Yeah, that was good, right?
Jasmine wrote, she's like, I think Doug's talking to you, because I had just had a conversation with her this past Sunday. I was like, I don't know what is happening and where to
Yeah.
start. I
Yeah.
feel know my niche that I want to go towards, but she's like, you should start in looking into wholesaling. She's like,
Right.
as a, it's it's probably a lot of work, but she feels like I may be able to have value from that one. But
Sure.
I know a lot about wholesaling. I think
Okay.
Joe did to that as well. So to cut to the chase, I don't know a lot about a lot. So I
That's
just
all
know,
right.
like, instead of trying to create a landscape or blueprint, just knowing some bits to where to get started or how to
Yeah.
get started.
Okay. All right. Well, it might kind of sound weird, but I will say you already have gotten started. It's just that you don't feel, you may not have the confidence that you're on the right path or you're focusing on the right things, because for us to even be having this conversation, that's more than a start, right? So like you've already decided, which is awesome, not just because you became a client of ours, but because you started looking into this stuff. You just need to get some clarity on what to focus on specifically, I think. And then from that point, like the focus then turns into momentum. When you focus and you start doing the things you need to focus on, and then create momentum with those things versus like trying to do everything. Right. And so a couple of things come to mind. So like when I think of like what to focus on, it really has to do with like getting clear about some of the goals you might have. So it kind of actually bridges right into the next question, coincidentally. So it's like, the next 12 months, kind of the next month, even next 2 months, whatever it is. But for this one, 12 months, you mentioned like your goal would be to having some sort of direction, momentum, coincidentally, use the same word, and create some stronger networking growth and building trust and community, growing in your face so you could have clearer vision and certainty so you can hold space in these areas. So if I take that and I kind of paraphrase what I'm hearing you say there, it's like you want to be able to, in 12 months or less, obviously show that you've made some progress and momentum, and ultimately build a network of people that can help you do more, now, but also in the future, that you can build relationships with, and kind of nourish those relationships, and then ultimately paint a vision, like you said there, and then ultimately grow that vision. It sounds like that's kind of what, you're working towards, which is very normal. Again, anything specifically on that you want to talk about, or I can give some commentary about some ideas of what to do there, but anything that you want to bring some additional visibility to with that?
I think with that, I was just probably in this whole feeling confused about my current job and not wanting to do that. It's like I
Yeah.
got
What do you do?
like,
Work? Yeah. What do you do for work right now? I should have asked you that before.
yeah, I'm a fundraiser. So I've been doing it for 16 years. It was like in my 20s when I started. I was working through college.
Okay.
Networking. I just was talking to a friend about wanting to work for one of the larger hospitals in the area, which is New York Presbyterian.
Yeah.
And I had to do something that wasn't medical related, but that was fun. So I ended up working at in the special events department in a fundraising team.
Okay. Yeah.
And that just took off, and that I just got stuck in fundraising. But it kind of
Okay.
is
It
not my,
sounds
yeah.
it's not your favorite thing, the fundraising, and it's for specifically hospitals, I guess.
It's the culture that's really toxic, and it is really, really toxic, Doug. It is
I'm
over.
surprised that the fundraising is needed for hospitals. Like, don't they make enough money through insurance and stuff like that? It's not
It's a private hospital, so
private hospitals.
we made a lot of money off of donations from like really wealthy people, like you've heard of them.
Okay. Wow.
Walter, all the, it was fun to
The
meet all
big
these people
names. Yeah.
and learn a lot. But I had a mentor that was amazing. She taught me everything I knew
Yeah.
about fun, and I felt like mentorship is so valuable.
Yeah.
It helped to create a path that I'm no longer interested in,
Right.
but set the
Yeah, but you got
tone.
a lot of skill set though from that, though. I feel like with people and like talking about money and things like that, that's a major, advantage you have, I feel like.
So I I'm going to be 40. And so I've been doing this since I was in my early 20s. So it's been
Wow.
years. And
Yeah.
so I have both knowledge under my belt, but now I'm in a smaller nonprofit.
Okay.
And hierarchy, it's chaos. No one at the top knows how to deal with growth and advancement and mentorship. So everyone's it's just every man for himself.
Chaos, basically. Yeah. Okay.
It's so unhealthy.
And how
And
many hours a day or a week are you dedicated to that kind of stuff? And how is that affecting you as far as your ability to focus and think about things clearly?
37 hours a week. A lot
Okay.
of, yeah, a lot of time, like nonstop during the day, just work stuff.
Okay.
Then I have kids. I'm a
You how many
single
kids? 2 kids?
kid. Yeah.
3
I'm
kids.
just
Okay.
recently
Okay.
divorced. Not
All right.
far, but I got my second job, which is my 9-year-old and my 7-year-old, 6-year-old.
Right.
She'll
Of
be
course. Yeah.
I'm just doing this whole consulting work to get them into our private schools here.
Okay.
So I do conferences of schools for schools. I have to write parent statements. I have to get them tutoring for what do you call that? This IC exam so they can get in. It's a whole process, but I love it
Yeah.
because it's back to my kids and they love it.
Of course.
I don't know if you've heard of Horseman, the Horseman School.
No, I have not. No. No.
Yeah, it's a really good independent school. And it's like competitive to get in. But my kids
Awesome. And it's
blind
what, New York City? Is that, are you in one of the 5 boroughs or
Riverdale, so it's in Riverdale.
Riverdale? Okay. Cool. Yeah. So my wife's actually originally from Brooklyn. I don't know if you know that or not from anything I might have said or Jasmine might have shared, but yeah. So I'm from New Jersey originally, but my wife was pretty much not born in Brooklyn. She was actually born overseas in Syria, but she came over here when she was 5. So,
Oh,
but being in the city, like growing up in the city and stuff like that, and then I lived, about 45 minutes from New York most of my life too. So I'm familiar with that area and like some of the things that are going on there, the dynamic of certain things, but I'm not like plugged into it as of now. I don't know like the schools and things like that
yeah,
as much, but
anyway.
yeah, it's all good. No, but it's good that you have like motivation for your children and like you're
Yeah,
stepping up as a mother. And you said a single mother, is that what you said? I think you did. Yeah.
divorce.
So divorced. Yeah.
Yeah. So then I have like their sports. My kids are in sports. They're in camp. I have
You got your
literally
hands full.
this small. You have a window, and then I decided I want to get my real estate license
Okay. All right.
for
So here's the
fun.
thing. Jasmine's awesome, and I'm glad she got us connected. The thing is, I hate to say this, but I would disagree with her suggestion about doing wholesaling if you could avoid it, only because with limited time, I mean, unless you have resources that you can put towards people that you would want to hire, like a virtual, which you could, it's not that expensive to hire a virtual assistant, but I don't know. We didn't talk much about like your capital side of things as far as your extra capital or access to capital or you're raising money for these other organizations. I don't know how much of that you thought about doing with your real estate stuff. But the fact is, like, if you were to do wholesaling, the thing is, Janet, you got to consider you're basically, if you do both acquisitions and dispositions, and you're essentially doing 2 jobs at the same time, kind of, or almost the same time. And then you're also trying to like find deals that are difficult to find to begin with, and then find an investor that sees the same vision that you have. And it's a lot of time involved, right? So it could happen where like, you get a couple of investors or a handful or maybe a dozen or 2 that you can connect with and build those relationships with. That's fine. But then the question is, where do the deals come from? So if the deals come from your work, like I talked about today, it's kind of time intensive and it can become expensive as far as the actual outbound, whether it be mail or phone calling or things like that, or paying for people to do that could become kind of expensive until you get to that result. And it's like, how long would it take you to get that deal under contract before you actually can close one? So that what I would say is you could potentially consider, like from a strategy perspective, because you've been focusing on the relationship side of things, which to me is more yielding on the capital flow, which is like people that have capital, people that want to invest capital. Maybe you want to get some capital going, like you want to grow your capital, obviously, but you want to put your focus on like those investor relationships. And then what you want to think about is kind of, how do I connect with people that already have deal flow? And that's kind of what I've been able to do with JDL Ventures in New Jersey and now Florida. As a real estate investor, like we've got key relationships, almost like strategic partners that bring us deal flow that we see. And we're one of the first groups to see it because we've done so much business with some of these individuals, these different companies. And it's not just like my clients, like these are people that we've developed relationships with that actually focus on acquisitions, that focus on sourcing deals. And I found like it's much simpler for me to build those relationships with the deal flow providers, like the people that actually get the inventory of wholesale deals or agents, and simply just find a way to analyze them quickly. So we've got a couple of staff members that do that. And you could just do this yourself, or you could have a VA do this, where they analyze the deal. We use the same thing that I coach on, which is run your numbers, deal check. You analyze the deal, you figure out which ones make the most sense, and you simply just go back to the wholesaler or the agent that sent it to you and say, hey, look, I want to make an offer on this one. I need to present it to my group of investors or my one or two investors, however you think of it, it's for final approval. But ultimately, I'm looking at moving forward. When do we have to close by? What's the earnest money deposit? Da da da. Like that kind of stuff, you can definitely do wholesaling that way. But I would say it's not in your best interest for what you have like on your plate already to try to do the other way, which is acquisitions focused, in my opinion. And I could sit here and if it was just for me, I swear, like I would say do the opposite if it was just for me, because obviously there's more people that can look for deals than it might be a deal that I could do, but that's not the purpose of our conversation. That's not the purpose of why I do what I do, right? Like I'm looking to do what's best for you, because that's my responsibility. And the best thing for you is with limited time, focus on one half of the transaction. In this case, the disposition side, because of your experience and because of your connections and because of the additional, I think, connections you're going to make in that space, as far as like relationships of people that are doing business that you want to talk with. And maybe there's some overlap there. You obviously got to be careful, like with whatever you're doing for your company that's outside of real estate. But if you have a personal connection, there could be a few people you reach out to just to give them a heads up. Hey, I don't know, I just want to share with you, I'm doing what I'm doing here, but I'm also getting on the side into like some real estate investment stuff. Do you happen to know anybody that might be interested? Not do you want to do it, but it's like, do you know anybody who might be interested in working with me? I'm finding some good deals in this area, whatever area, and they're rental properties or fix and flips. Do you know anyone that maybe I should have a conversation with? And they're like, oh, well, actually, I'm one of those people. You should talk to me about that. What do you mean? Okay, well, I didn't think about that. That's great. Well, listen, here's my model. And then that's where you got to think of like, not a pitch, but kind of like a framework. So I'm going to pause on that just because I want to go through the rest of what you put here. It's a lot of good stuff. You mentioned challenges that you're facing. My challenges are feeling like I don't know where to start, overcome some of the fear and a directional pull and some doors opening, but don't feel prepared to launch. So tell me more about that so I can get an idea of like kind of what you're feeling as far as a fear. What are you fearful of? Like just share as much as you can. Like, is it failure? Is it rejection? Is it success? Is it all the above, unknown? Like what's the fear of?
The fear of the unknown.
Yeah.
I feel like once I get in a space where I know enough, I am more comfortable. Like I can talk to a lot of people about fundraising. I can't say anything about real estate investing
Right.
because I have a point where I can have a confident conversation with someone, but I do know in time I will be able to. I think it's the fear of the unknown
Yeah.
and doing something that's going to cause a huge setback in my life, because I have faced challenges in the past, just how life
Right.
works.
Yeah.
So I think that it usually is fear. And it's so funny. I'm in this Dean Graciosi thing.
Oh, the challenge. I'm in there too. Yeah.
I think I saw a post from you, but
Uh-huh. Yeah.
talks
So where are
about
my real estate investors at? And it was like 20 people. And then I was like, all right.
that. I thought it was pretty cool. See, I want
Yeah.
to get to that place, and it will
Yeah.
happen.
Just connections. Yeah. It's really, I don't want to
Ooh,
oversimplify it because I hope I don't come across as being like, arrogant or whatever. It's like, it's just not that difficult, but I understand why it feels difficult. You know what I mean? It feels like it because you're nervous about something. And the thing is, just like Tony Robbins or Dean Graziosi, like a lot of this stuff has to do with personal development and like mindset. It's not so much about the tactical. It is tactical, right, Janet? But it's also like if you just convince yourself and know that like even if you make a mistake, like no one's gonna come to hurt you, God forbid, or something
right,
like that. It's not that serious. Like it's just like normal. So if you fumble up your words or you say something that's a little bit off, like most people don't even notice it probably. You think they're going to be like, oh, see, she's newer or she doesn't know what she's doing, but it's really not even usually like that. It's like, you just might not have as much credibility in that first conversation, but then the next time you call that person or talk to that person, whether it's in
right,
person or on the phone or whatever, is like now I build that relationship over time anyways. Like, it's not like you're going to call a person, an investor, a seller, or whoever. And then on that first phone call, all of a sudden, like everything's going to start flying off the shelf. Like you're going to start making all this money. It's going to happen over time. So then the question becomes, how do you invest your time? Right. And that's where like you're telling me on a day-to-day basis, you have very limited time. So I'm looking literally right behind the form that you submitted is legitimately my calendar. Like I'm looking at it behind it. So it's like what I would say is make sure that you have a digital form to track the focus that you have every day. Like, and literally down to, I'll just kind of give you a quick glimpse, and it's got a bunch of stuff on it and it won't make a lot of sense, but I'll show you just so you can kind of see. Like my calendar has, there's the Dean and the Tony and Dean challenge thing. It has all different colors and meetings, and it's got, time that I blocked out for me being out of the office. And that's sort of informally out of the office. Like I'm not in an office anyways, but just not being as available so that people don't book time. That's right now because my kids are in school, or not, they're out of school. I mean, they're going back to school next week, and two of them, 12 and 9, are basically going to like regular school, and then our youngest is going to do like preschool down here. But essentially for the summertime, I want to be intentional about how do I block out my time for my family too. And I want to think about, for me, like, green has to do with my clients or things that require me to be there to like coach or to do something that's going to help the company. Blue for me has to do with like events that I can attend, whether it be a mastermind event or a training or whatever. Red obviously is like, no, you can't book it. Like it's a no. And then gray is kind of like either I didn't mark it or it's something that just doesn't have as much of a specific reason to make it colorful. And I've used colors to remind my eyes to feel a certain way that when I go and look at my calendar, I know like this is exciting. So the Tony and Dean things are kind of exciting. Green is exciting. Like red is like, no, we're not doing this. Get away from here, kind of thing. So I use a lot of these little tips and tricks, I guess you could say. But the fact is the openness on my calendar is not good either. Like Saturday and Sunday, I kind of think of this as this isn't my calendar for, my family as much. I have a different family calendar, but this is my work calendar. So that kind of makes sense. But the thing is for you and for everyone else, like the more stuff, like you look at like next week, it looks almost the same, but these are all different meetings. So it's like, if these blocks, I can just go like this and put hold for planning, for example. Like I might just do that, right? So now this is like a hold, and now this is an internal where I'm marking that color. So now it's like, as simple as it seems, like that right there though creates space for me to then do what I need to do and not have to like wonder when it's going to happen. So I would say take a look at your calendar and reflect on like how you're committed your focus. And if you have Google Calendar, Apple Calendar, whatever it is, track like your work time as far as your full-time work as blocks of unavailability, right? And you're going to show me something like that?
Yeah, I'm going to show you my calendar. I don't know if you can see it.
Oh, there you go.
But I
Similar.
have
Yeah.
my personal, my
You got
kids,
even more. Yeah. So you
and
got,
then my work. Look at my work
yeah,
compared
it's
to
nuts.
I
So
and
can
I
you
even
here's the thing.
out.
Can you overlay them somehow to see like what your
Yeah,
actual availability is?
yeah. And it looks even worse.
Right. So
So
then
this
how are you planning to allocate, as you're showing me there, how do you plan on allocating time for your real estate stuff? How have you thought of that? Is it,
is
you
to
don't know
figure
yet? Yeah.
that's what I'm gonna try to. I know Sundays I'm gonna start having more free time, so that'll
Okay.
be and I usually use that to like catch up on reading. I meet with Jasmine. I meet with a couple of folks. I
Okay.
have doing this accountability program, and I meet with like my accountability partners to try
Right.
to like stay focused on something.
Yeah. 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 Okay.
So
All
I
right.
gotta give
So
some time because I really want to start some work to just do independent stuff aside from the 9 to 5 that I know I'm not built for. I'm not designed
right.
for it. I was never
Yeah.
designed. I followed the wrong path. And there's this burning desire in me that's like, I could do so much more.
Yeah. I understand.
Yeah.
So I want to hear more about all that stuff. I'm just looking at just to get through the last part of what you asked to make sure we cover that, and then we'll kind of go through any additional thoughts and we'll figure out like where to go next here. But you mentioned here that you think I can help you, about how I'm able to overcome, or I've been able to overcome some of the fear and the setbacks starting out in the business, which we kind of touched upon some of these things, but not to the fullest extent. And then utilizing my time for education and mentorship. So I mean, that's an interesting question. I'll come back to that too. But what paths seem to be more beneficial? I gave you some visibility on that. I would say for you specifically, probably looking at one side of the wholesale transaction, or getting really good at like analyzing deals and then figuring out whether it's Jasmine or somebody else that you can say, look, let's collaborate. I don't have a lot of time, but I'll do this part. And that part that you do can be done. The part that you want to focus on needs to be something that if you're physically going to do it, that you could do probably any time of day, any day of the week. And if it's something that like, if Janet's going to literally sit at her desk and do analysis, you could do analysis in the middle of the night. Not saying you should be up till midnight or 1 o'clock, but if you had to, like, I found myself laying in bed sometimes, especially when I was working full time, having to catch up on stuff at late at night. It just depends on your flow. Sometimes in the morning, sometimes in breaks, sometimes at lunch. but then also the weekends, right? So like you could call people on the weekends. Usually you don't call people like that don't know you past like 8 o'clock or like 7 o'clock Eastern time. You know, it's like, I'm not going to call somebody that doesn't know me. I might text somebody, but I'm not going to call them. So you got to think, when do I become available to do these kinds of activities? And then the other question is, who else can I have help me? If it's you asking yourself this question, who else can help you, make these calls, do these things? And that's where you start thinking about like, what's your time worth? And you start saying like, is it worth me doing this myself, not knowing much, not having a lot of time, or can I just get a VA, for example, to do most of the work and pay them $4, $5, $6 an hour to just do the work for me? And they know how to do it already. And they're just going to give me the boiled down version of what was done and give me the key people to talk to. Like that, that's generally where you want to head as quickly as you can. But it's just a question of like two things mainly. It's resources financially, but it's not much because you figure if it's like $5 an hour on average and the person works part-time 20 hours a week, that's 20 more hours a week that you have in your schedule for your business that costs you $100 a week. So it's like, is it worth $100 to have 20 more hours a week for you and your business? The answer is usually yes, but you have to make sense of like, okay, well, it's not just you pay $100. Like you got to figure now this person might need some direction from you, some guidance, some resources, but that's where like we can help you also like, and it's a separate thing, but it's not crazy. Like we can help you find, hire, manage, train, all that kind of stuff. We don't really manage. I shouldn't say manage. It's more train, I would say. We can kind of advise you through the coaching, but like if you wanted us to literally manage it, like I don't really have a service, but I've done enough of that that like I can give you tips of how to best manage them. And it's not a lot of work. But then you said what path seems more beneficial and then learning as you go or learning before you jumped in. It's really more so learning as you go. Honestly, it's more learning as you go than learning before you jumped in. What ways were you able to grow your network? The ways I was able to grow my network was mostly in-person networking at times when I wasn't working full time. So I would do evenings. So I don't know if you have like, childcare, someone could watch the kids or you want to bring your kids even like, depending on how old they are, they might be just about the age. I'd take my 12-year-old and my 9-year-old sometimes to meetings, but you could literally bring them to network, or if you don't want to, you could leave somebody, leave them with somebody and go network for a couple hours in person at local RIAs, right? That's what I would invest the time into. And you might spend $20, $30 a meeting, but that 20 or $30 could be worth 20 or $30,000 at least if you get one good contact that you're going to do business with. And then you got to think like there's also lunch meetings that are going on different places, a lot of Zoom stuff, as you know, with us and with other groups. So I would focus on, both, in-person networking and online networking with the right groups. And the right groups are going to be people that do already real estate investing or something to do with real estate. You obviously get, like to own your future challenge, for example, like I'm in that too, but I don't expect like a massive amount of like connections or business to come out of that. It's more just personal growth and development.
Right.
So it's, and being around Tony and Dean that kind of inspires me to want to do more as well. So like, that's the reason I joined that one and just kind of see what they're doing. Also, I kind of observe. But the fact is, like for you and for anyone who's getting started in real estate, you're going to want to think like, I want to go as close to a deal that's already happening that I can get. I don't want to go further away from real estate investing. So if you go, for example, real estate agents is close, but it's not the closest. Like real estate investors that actually already buy property, that's the closest you could be. So that's why like the Growth Collective is one of those groups for you where you can plug into existing real estate investors through the coaches, myself, obviously other coaches, but also the clients and the members. And then other groups like that you can kind of connect to that people are already doing deals. Then you go like one step before that, it's like real estate agents and mortgage people. So find out what different events they might go to. There's local real estate groups that get together that just do real estate stuff. They're not like investors only. Then you could be the real estate investor, right? That goes to that group. It's almost like if you've ever heard of like BNI, it's kind of like BNI, where they want to connect people for like referrals. It's almost like imagine if you come into like this real estate agent group, but you're the investor. Now it's like you're going to be the one getting all the investment deals theoretically because you're the one investor who's in that room that all the agents want to get you the deals. Like, so you got to think like getting connected to those groups is really important. And then if you can't do it in person, or if you want to supplement that, then it's online, right? Online connections. So like Facebook groups, there's meetup groups, there's all different kinds of connections you can make,
Yeah.
but it starts with that connection. And then it's going to be, how does Janet, like, how do you brand yourself or think of yourself? And that's where we had to work on some of this maybe is like, what are some of the tasks or activities that you want to focus on as an investor? And how do those bring value to other real estate people? So for example, if you're going to be sourcing deals and it's, if let's say you're going to get connected to real estate agents and wholesalers, and you're going to be sourcing deals from them, the value you would bring to them is that you would quickly be able to analyze a deal and then assess whether or not you want to buy the property, but then use other people's money to buy the property. And that could be on a wholesale flip where you just flip the deal completely to somebody else. That could be on a fix and flip, like what Jasmine's doing, where she's buying a property without having to use all of her own money. You could do a buy and hold the same exact way. But I'll tell you that if you're looking to transition out of corporate or some type of role, you want to probably look at more, if you're looking to do that sooner or later, you want to look more at like something that's going to produce a result faster. So the faster result will be wholesale. Maybe that's why Jasmine was thinking that, or fix and flip. Those are going to produce bigger chunks of capital in a shorter period of time. Buy and hold is usually, months or years to produce any sort of benefit to you. It's not a bad idea to build a portfolio, but if you're going through a transition, it's probably not. If you're trying to get out of something else through real estate investing, then buy and hold is probably not the number one priority right now. Yeah. So
But
my question, there's a lot of stuff I said there. Any questions for me? And then I got a couple of questions to wrap this up for you as far as like, yeah,
thank you.
yeah,
Wholesaling just sounds like it's, even if I'm on the other side of it, still sounds like a lot of work. And not to say that I would not be willing to do it in the future, but what can I do now to even just start? I know you said networking. I've been poking around a
yeah,
little bit, book, and I've been getting a lot of people trying to sell me their programs. It's like everyone's trying to
yeah.
sell.
It's a very congested space. Like that's why I'm trying to open up people's minds that you don't have to like go pay like $40,000, $50,000 or $30,000. You can just, come into even like an offer you came into where it's a couple $1,000, or you could do like, I mean, depending on where you want to go and depending on your resources, like I feel like we would have a lot of good momentum and conversation working one-to-one, but that's depending on, and then, or just doing something that's a little bit more every week that we talk more frequently. So, but that's something that, people are pitching stuff to an audience that exists because a lot of people are unhappy. Like it just, so you understand why, like most of America is not engaged in what they're doing for work. Like literally we've become physically disengaged because we're not sitting in the office anymore. We don't have the human element of connection. And that's like something that's disconnecting people already. Plus they don't like what they do as much anymore because they know there's other things that other people are doing that are seemingly more successful or like more freedom. So that's like all this stuff is happening. And then you got technology multiplying it because you're seeing stuff on social media and people posting on Facebook, Instagram. So yeah, it's because the industry is growing, and that's kind of Own Your Own Future actually talks about, if you call it the videos or not, but they're talking about starting in the coaching space, basically figuring out what you're an expert at, right? Figuring out what you like to do, what you love to do, and what you've done already that other people want to do and be like you. So it's, like I've been coaching since 2015, like officially. Like unofficially, it was probably since I started technically, because I'm talking to people about my 2 cents about technology and process. So that's my background. But like as an actual paid coach, I mean, my first client was July of 2015, I think. So, and I'm saying that because like I got a pretty good start. The thing is, in the beginning, it was all one-to-one, and it was conversations like we're having now and figuring out clarity for the client to see like, okay, yeah, there's all this information, all this knowledge you can get, all these things you can do, but specifically for you, like, where do you want to go and what can I do to help you get there, like personally, one-to-one. So that's how I started. And then obviously over time, it became a group program. And then I took a little break because I was so busy doing real estate. And then I got into group again. And now we got like a hybrid between group and then one-to-one with some training and stuff. But I'm saying all that because you got to kind of still decide for yourself though, like you said before, who you're going to listen to. Like, I appreciate you, saying what you said about us. Like you feel like you should listen to some of the things. Now everything is your client, but like you were listening to a lot of different people and you felt like maybe you gravitated towards what we're talking about, what I'm talking about, because you saw something different. And I believe we have a lot of different things that are beneficial. Like we have, mostly focused on deal making. Like it's not about information, right? So you've heard me talk about that, but that's actually happening. Jasmine's a great example of that. She's connected to our funding group. She's connected to our wholesale guys. Like everything is morphed into like she can step into a deal if she decides she wants to. She's got priority because she already closed a couple of deals with us, right? Like, so what I guess I'm saying is for you to pick or kind of focus an area, like what I want to find out and understand, and maybe this is in the system, but like your resources as far as like your credit, if you have decent credit or not, and also if you have liquidity or capital, that's going to tell me how to properly like uh, point you in the right direction of what you can or can't do either with us or on your own, and then figure out how I would coach you. Like if we work together in some deeper way, like how would I coach you on, for example, if your credit's not perfect, like how do we get that to be not an issue? How do we focus on liquidity? And you're talking about raising money. If you don't have as much liquidity, it just depends on what tell me a little bit about that as far as like what you have now and what, you want to focus on based on what you have, if that makes any sense.
Right, yeah. So that makes sense. Of course, everyone has a 401k. That's what I have
Okay.
for my company invests into that. And then I have a Roth IRA. It's relatively small. I'm starting out with that, but I have cash in the bank. I have about 12,000 just in
Okay.
savings, and just my credit is in, I think it's like 650 or something like that. Then I have my
Okay.
credit. I paid off like my debt, and I don't have any student loan debt. It got forgiven.
Excellent.
The
Okay.
pandemic, $1,000 gone. So I'm pretty much starting to talk to people that may have money, like my friends. And there was one guy, he's like, yeah, if you have something, let me know and we'll talk. But people say things like that, and I
Yeah.
don't know with that. And then I was going to visit my stepdad in New Jersey and have a face-to-face conversation because he's retired. But then I found out he was in Florida. So just having conversations, and I really don't like talking to people about money,
Yeah.
honestly,
That's okay.
but that's where I
Well,
am.
that's going to become more normal, I think. And that's one thing we got to work on is like, getting comfortable with that, because that's inevitable that in real estate investing, you're going to be talking about at least two things. It's like real estate, and investing is basically capital. So it's going to be real estate and capital, just, yeah.
Oh, wrong. I can ask regular people for money because I work
Right.
in
Right.
but
True. Exactly. Yeah.
family, I just think that
Our
people get a
friends
little
and family. Okay.
weird about
Yeah.
it. I do know one guy, he's my neighbor actually. He like is a single guy. He says he has a lot of savings and investing, and he's a corporate guy at Frito-Lay. So I think he
Right.
was serious about the conversation. Then I think that's
Okay.
one,
Yeah.
but
So
that
with the credit, your credit's not horrible, but do you mind me asking what's driving the credit to be at 650 and not like 750 or 800? What's the main thing? Is it utilization? Is it the
uh,
age of the stuff? Like which part is it pulling it down to the sixes?
age, and I had some debt in the past that I cleared off not too long ago. It was
Okay. Of
hard, taking care of the kids. They have a lot of
course.
expenses
Yeah, of
and
course.
cheap
Okay.
around. So I have to allocate a lot of my resources to their extracurricular because I still want them to have the things that they need. Now my
Did,
salary,
did, did you talk to Jasmine? I don't mean to cut in there, Janet, but did you talk to Jasmine at all? Because she's got some sort of connection with like business credit cards and personal credit cards. Did she talk to you about that?
told me to open up should open up an LLC and open up a business line of credit, which I haven't
Yeah.
really explored, but I have been hearing that in other spaces as well. Is that something that you
Yeah.
think?
I would say look into it to see, like, based on your situation. Yeah, I'd follow up with her on that because she has a contact. I think I don't know who that contact is, but it helped her get some access to credit. So here's my thoughts on credit. Just a couple, and I got a 5:30 with another client, so I'm going a little longer as I want to invest the time, but I got to go in like 4 minutes for right now. But we could talk about like next steps and see what we want to do. But as far as Jasmine, I mean, I think you can get credit for the purpose of business, right? Like it's not a good idea to get credit. And like, I don't think you're the kind of person that's going to go like to the store and go shopping and go nuts and just waste all this money. It doesn't seem like you're that kind of person at all. So you're being diligent, you're being cautious, like as it is. And now you're thinking like, why would I get more credit? Well, if you can get credit that can help you acquire real estate or get the benefit of knowing what to do to acquire real estate, then that's not a bad idea. So what I'm wondering is two things. You can get, yeah, connected with her about the personal and the business credit. The other thing is like, and I don't want you to feel in any way that I'm trying to like twist your arm to do something here, but I just feel like you have a lot of things that are lined up to somebody I would want to work with in different ways, because you got a transition, you got a family, you have a corporate thing, but you're also trying to get out the gate strong. And I know you can get benefit from like what you're in now, but I'm curious to know like if the money was available to you, would you want to do something that's deeper? Because there's different ways we could do. Whereas like we have a third party funding company called Ease, which I don't know if they came across your desk or not, but whether it's we have one program at 6,800. I could just take whatever you put already and apply it to that, or we can go a $9,800 option. But it's not that like just spending more money and making this more difficult. It's like it's going to literally create more space for us to work together to where you can get momentum faster. And it's not because like, see, like some of my clients, they've already been doing stuff in real estate and they don't need like help just getting started. So it's like they can deal with just coming to meetings once in a while and kind of plugging in. But with somebody like yourself that you're trying to get momentum, a lot of times it's going to require some more one-on-one time. It's going to require like us to spend and invest time together. And on top of that, also like a cadence of maybe a weekly touch point, more so than we have now, with just so I don't know, like, it doesn't even need to be now, but if you had the credit available to you where you weren't using your own money, and I think that's what kind of Jasmine did actually, because come to think of it, we started off in a certain way, and then I asked her if she wanted to continue working together, and she did, and then lo and behold, now she's 2 deals in, and
Yeah.
God willing, going to make tens of thousands of dollars from both of those deals, maybe even the one is bigger than that. So I just thinking about her and how we got connected and seeing like there's a lot of synergy, maybe that you have an existing friendship or relationship with her in that way. And that's like, how can I help duplicate that with you? It's going to be difficult to do that inside of the current way you're set up with us, but it doesn't mean you can't still do it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. I can definitely, I tried ease and I don't think I got approved.
You did
So
go through ease and tried. Okay.
that, nope. But
What about like a monthly payment plan or something like that? If I did in-house financing, but we did something where, it's broken into payments, would that be something that you'd want to look at?
yeah, because aside
Okay.
from my salary, I do, and I don't dip into my kids, deal with their,
Savings.
but I get a substantial amount from their dad, and I could
Okay.
just add my own resources towards this
Right.
monthly
Okay.
while not affecting anything that I have to do for them.
Okay. So then
Is
the
that
question, you don't have to answer this right now, but the question would be, what would you see in your head as like a monthly amount? Then I can kind of craft like how often we can meet one-to-one or have you plug into one of the programs. For example, if it's like a few $100 a month, it's going to be different than if it's $1,000 a month or 2,000, so just, you don't have to do it now. Again, I'm not trying to put you on the spot, but maybe digest that and everything we talked about. And if you want to shoot me a message, just, do you have my cell by chance or no? All
I'll
right.
take.
So throw me a text when you have a chance, 941
Mm-hmm.
313
Mm-hmm.
2770. And then you could also put in a Slack, but that's kind of like a personal one-to-one thing and
Yeah.
at least. So just when you get a chance later on tonight, tomorrow, whichever, just give me an idea of where you're at. If you look at numbers and stuff like that. And then I could let you know, like, basically, we have one client that just came in, doing a once a week one-on-one for the whole year is a 25K program. So that's kind of significant, right? So that probably be too much right now out of the gate, I think. But doing something that's dialed back either to a 90-day period, but doing maybe every other week or doing once every month or something like that, having like a half an hour. I feel like there's a few different elements of where I can add value to what you're working on, what you're trying to do, and then also uncover like we didn't even get into the IRA and the 401k stuff. There might be some ways to tap into that depending upon how that's all set up. But I wish I can go longer right now, but I want to honor my other client
But
but
so you text
yeah.
you
Just
when I,
text me what you think your budget is on a monthly basis and for how long, like as you might say, hey Doug, I got like this much. I think I can make sense of if we work together for 3 months, I could do this much for 3 months or something, or 6 months or 12 months. Just give me an idea. Cause there's like the standard like programs, but then like somebody like you that's already committed, like I want to be respectful of the fact that you trust me enough to even help you. And I want to be accommodating if I can be, if that makes a difference, just so that I can help you go further faster. I don't want to make it so you have to do it this way no matter what. There's flexibility and
yeah, appreciate that. That's why I appreciate you guys, and I know you got to run because you guys seem like the
yeah.
most people I've ever come across
Oh, that's
since
awesome.
the
Really
beginning.
appreciate that.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
serious.
Well, you just got to do, I mean, look, let's get some stuff going. Let's get some success and hopefully you can share the word like Jasmine did. That'd be amazing. That's the most important thing we could ever do. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Awesome, Janet. Hey, God bless you. I appreciate you. All right. We'll talk real soon. Shoot me that text when you get a chance. I'll talk to you then. All right.
Bye.
Later. Later. Bye.